Hey everyone. Nice to see everyone here. Some folks I do know and a lot of new faces. Seems like a pretty cool event. What do you think, Nick?
Solid, not bad.
Nice views. Anyone got by the pool? It's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, ready?
Yeah, let's rock.
All right, so without wasting any time, Jason, can you give us a quick overview? Just give us context on Hexclad, and then I'm going to ask you a bunch of more detailed questions.
Sure. The mission of Hexclad is to build a best-in-class consumer brand in the kitchen, maybe even eventually the home. We've done a pretty good job so far. We'll probably break 500 top line this year. Never raised any outside equity capital. Founder bootstrapped money from the beginning. Very hard to grow without a lot of capital. Founders probably put in $1 million of their own money to get it going. They were not 20-somethings at the time. They were 40 and 50-somethings. So, but they poured their whole life savings into the business. I was an advisor to Hexclad from the beginning when they started selling in Costco in November of 2017. And then I joined full-time as CFO in April 2020. Interesting timing, pandemic. And a year later, I was promoted to the president, and now I basically run 80% of our sales, which comes through our DTC channel. So the growth team, marketing, operations, finance, all report to me. We did a really cool partnership with the Michael Jordan of cooking, Gordon Ramsay, back in 2021. And we had a great business before that. When we started talking to Gordon, I think we were projecting to do about 50 million in sales that year. And that's around what we did. And then he came on board middle of 2021, and he was really committed to the brand because he loved the product. It all starts with a good product. And so, so Gordon's been an incredible partner for us. He's very engaged in our business. People love to ask about Gordon and the story, et cetera. And I think we're very, very lucky that the alignment between our product and the right personality, it's not easy to do. For example, we did some work with Hailey Bieber, which was great, was a lot of fun. But she's very busy, not really a cook. She's committed to other things in her life. So it was a really good partnership for us, but doesn't touch the partnership with Gordon Ramsay. So we can talk more about that later. And we'll try to make this interactive, and we'll do Nick will get you guys to ask a bunch of questions, I hope, as we go along. And I'm happy to stick around and chat with anyone for as long as it takes after.
All right, so one of the brands I brought up earlier was Jolie, the showerhead company. And, they launched about 2 years ago. And over the last 6 months, there's been probably 8 to 10 copycat brands that have come up. And they try to steal the shape of the product or even the iconography, literally ripping text. This morning I got an ad saying, "Don't buy a Jolie until you read this," which I think is ridiculous. Hexclad's been around for 11 years, and I thought the cooking space was our place, but it's not anymore. How do you continue to make sure that Hexclad is a brand that is leading the category versus following?
Well, you definitely struck a chord with the fact that everyone is going after Jolie now. It's sort of the price of success, and they say that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but really, one of the biggest challenges when you get to a certain size and scale is, and I guess it's a high-class problem because we've reached this level, but everyone's coming after you for everything. And much of it bullshit. It's like we've got people running attack ads against Hexclad. I'm like, you guys are actually spending money, advertising our name and telling people you're better than us. Well, why are you comparing yourself to us? And it's probably pretty good for us at the end of the day, but it's frustrating. And then, we're seeing lots of knockoff products because we, just like Jolie kind of did something special, right, with the filtered shower head. We did something really special. We really did reinvent the frying pan. And it's patented technology, anyone can work around a patent, so everyone, there's just every day there's a new one, and it's so frustrating because everyone sends them to me. Don't send them to me, please. Stop sending me the knockoffs because it's like really annoying. But you just like, don't be bitter, be better. You just have to be better. We're always thinking short, medium, long term with our business. We have lots of goals. Like, for example, last year we set some goals to really build out a great content operation at Hexclad because, one of the beauties of our space is that cooking is very contentable. Everyone's like wants to do content and get viral content engagement. Again, it's one of the things that we're a bit fortunate. Like if you open up Instagram or open up TikTok, what do you see? You see like cats, puppies, cars, bikinis, and cooking. So like we're in the perfect spot for that. And you see a lot of fitness people, right? So we set out to be really good at content. We have our own studio here in LA now where we shoot almost every day. We've got 2 kitchens. We also made a commitment to a community last year, and we're still like working our way through that. But our Facebook group that we didn't start, by the way, some like really nice lady in the Midwest like started this Facebook group, and there's like 35,000 people in the Hexclad Facebook group, Cooking with Hexclad. And so that was another thing, was scaling our operations to do $1 billion in sales. So you set these objectives, short term, medium term, long term, and all with the view to being better. How do we get better? So everyone's coming after us, and I just sort of like take it as a compliment and get on with our day. Of course, we send cease and desist letters all the time. We have lawyers. You got to protect your IP and start early. Protect your IP early. There are a lot of young brands in here. It's really inspiring to hear everyone and what they're trying to do and how they're trying to build. It's really, really hard. It's been really, really hard to get to where we are. And the challenges keep coming at you. But like, do the little things right. Protect your IP, get your financial house in order, do that stuff. So that will set you up for fewer problems like in the long run.
So going off of what you were saying, it's pretty impressive. You've got the Michael Jordan of cooking in the Hexclad, you're really in like the Hexclad executive team now. And that relationship feels very non-transactional. Like it does not feel like he's a paid spokesperson for the brand. How do you think about leveraging Gordon with his brand, his presence, his events, his restaurants? And, how do you do it in a way that doesn't come off transactional? It's not like, hey, Gordon, go post X amount of times on Instagram. So how do you think about that?
Yeah, look, we had basic deliverables in the deal because you have to have them, you have to line something up. But we kind of understood how lucky we were to get Gordon. Like I remember our first call with Gordon. It was Danny, the co-founder, and me on a Zoom call. This was like deep pandemic. This was early 2021, and my wife actually is a big Gordon Ramsay fan, like long before we got into this business. And so I'm on a Zoom call. Danny's at his place in West Hollywood at the time. I'm at my place, and my wife Lexi's like walking around the background just listening to Gordon Ramsay. It was supposed to be a 20-minute call, and wound up, being on the Zoom for like an hour and 20 minutes. And he's walking around his place in Cornwall in South England. Oh, and look at this shitty Le Creuset, and oh, here's Oscar, my son, and but we had basic deliverables in there. But what Gordon's people told us was that Gordon's very time poor, but if he's committed to something, he will go above and beyond in the ways that he can, and so I think that was really useful for us. Like we really got him excited, and one of the reasons why we got him was because we had a very strong business already. We weren't relying on Gordon to build our business. We were able to sell him and his management team a story of a fast-growing, profitable company, and we were able to really negotiate from strength. We did not need Gordon. He was more than a nice to have. He would be a great get, But like I said, we were planning to do 50 million in revenue before we got Gordon, and so that made it, that made it easier. But you want to have authentic partnerships. And I think like the retail and consumer landscape is riddled with these types of partnerships that didn't work out. Like I can look at the cookware space right now. And I'm like, oh, Stanley Tucci, he took a deal with somebody, which I don't know, you never see their cookware. And Ava Longoria, who by the way loves cooking on Hexclad, we know it because she has it, and like she put her name on like a Caraway knockoff. And Selena Gomez did something with Our Place. Does anyone know who Selena Gomez is dating, by the way?
Benny Blanco?
Yeah. So Benny Blanco is now a Hexclad ambassador.
We play chess here.
It's coming out. We do play chess. It's coming out soon. We just launched our apron line. We created aprons, and we wanted them. So we won't do things at Hexclad unless we think they're special or differentiated, like our frying pan. And we wanted to do apparel and a little more lifestyle stuff, and the obviously cooking aprons make sense. So we created aprons that are made out of the fabric is made out of 30. Each apron, the fabric for each apron is made out of 34 recycled plastic bottles, which is really nice. And so for some reason we got in touch with Benny, and Benny launched a cookbook, and we designed a custom apron for him. And there's going to be a whole big Benny Blanco Hexclad thing coming out pretty soon. So I don't know who Benny Blanco is, but everyone seems to think he's cool.
I mean, Hexclad too is very generous with donating product or seeding creators with different product. How do you think about the ROI of just sending product out to people who are, they've got a small cooking show on TikTok, or, they go live on Sundays and cook sauce or whatever?
Yeah. Product seeding has been huge for us. We spend a lot of money. The cost of the product, we send a lot of product to people. We always have. And we don't do it, and we don't really ask for much necessarily. We just one of the things that benefits us is that you can see the hexagons on our pans. So it's actually really cool. Like people will just cook with it and post stuff, and they don't even tag us, and we don't really care, because it's sort of almost like a viral, really authentic way of doing it. So I'm a big believer. It obviously depends on the product, depends what you're selling. But this has been a multi-year project to getting product. I mean, this has been going on for 5+ years that we've just send product. And look, we have good margins, right? And this is the first thing that everyone needs to realize if you're doing a brand is everything starts with product market fit and good unit economics. And our unit economics are great for us, for a D2C brand. If we had to be like a retail-only focused brand where retailers take 50-55%, that might be more challenging for us. But we were always sort of built to be a D2C. Everyone told Danny and Cole, the founders, that there's no way that they could do it. And Hexclad was actually the first D2C brand in cookware, but Hexclad started out actually in a partnership with Costco. Costco was our first flagship partner. And the nice thing about Costco versus other retailers is that their margin requirement is much better for the vendor. So in any event, we went big in D2C when the pandemic happened. And that was really interesting because the Costco business was really good before then. And so basically when the pandemic happened, Costco shut down the roadshow, which is what we sell in. So for 6 months, essentially at the top, 90% of Hexclad's revenue went away for 6 months. Not a lot of people know that, actually. But luckily, there was money in the bank, and then there was inventory in the warehouse. And it's okay, well, what do we do now? Let's just dump some money into paid ads and see what happens. We had this great founder video, this great Danny doing the demo. It's still a great video. Can your cookware do this? He's blowing the egg off the pan and doing all that stuff. And that crushed for us. And we had our previous best month in online sales prior to March of 2020 had been 1 million. And in March of 2020, we did 5 million. So we 5x'd it. And overnight, we became a D2C brand. And if the pandemic, and it wasn't so much actually that people were home buying cookware, it was just that the decision was made to actually spend money on ads. And that was a big one for us.
So a lot of the smaller brands definitely rely on ads for top of funnel and even just going to market. What do you think are the traits of a perfect D2C business? If you were gonna start one from scratch today, what would be the 5 or 6 check boxes that need to be checked? Yeah,
so we talked about 2 of them. Product market fit. Like it's all about the product at the beginning. I met a few new people here today who have really cool products. Like you have to have a value proposition for the customer in a product. Having the unit economics right. There was this bubble in D2C where everyone was out raising money, and companies like Allbirds and those folks, like they just never really had good unit economics. And then the next thing I think is having like an AOV that works, because it just, it gets hard. It's gotten harder, right, to make money on paid ads, to get the return on paid ads, and so figure out how to get to the AOV. Either have just, that's the product you sell, or do some kind of bundling strategy. We do lots of bundling. We have individual frying pans that sell anywhere from $140 to $190, but our AOV is 400 because we really push hard on sets. And if it were a different product, like say I was selling, I was just selling socks, I'd be like, okay, well, we got to figure out how to get that AOV up. Or if there's an LTV play, you still have to be mindful of like first order profitability. And I think that's really important. The AOV feeds into like the broader concept, which is how can we be first order profitable? Because you have to build a business that is just going to make money really fast, like from the beginning. You can't expect, in my opinion, to like grind it out for 2 years and then hopefully make money. You need to actually have a plan to make money really fast. Otherwise, move on to the next one.
Totally. I think, is everybody here familiar with Hexclad? Pretty familiar? So the brand of Hexclad, I feel like, is so strong and bold and very, like, feels very durable. And the Hexclad promise is that it's used in all the best restaurants in the world. The biggest chefs use it. It's in Michelin star restaurants, but at the same time, Hexclad does such a good job being very approachable and being that the first pan you cook on, or the only pan you cook on. How do you balance that brand act of being so durable and strong, but also being so approachable?
There was a vision for the brand from the beginning. It was set by Danny. He was the co-founder. Danny's the CEO. I'm the president. He's in China right now, and he just had this vision in his mind of, I don't know if anyone has ever seen this picture of Johnny Cash when he got out of Folsom Prison, like giving everyone the finger. And like Danny was like, we're going to be the badass cookware brand, but anyone could be a badass. Your grandma could be a badass. Your daughter could be a badass. We're just like the badass cookware brand. And then we did actually we did a risky rebrand in 2022 when we Nick was there. Nick had a seat at the table, and we were like, oh, we're going to go dark mode. We're going to do everything dark because our pans are dark. And people were like, it's going to be too masculine. Your brand is already very masculine. You've got Gordon Ramsay. And we're just like, we're going to just be true to the brand, and we're just going to do it. And there were a lot of people who doubted us, a lot of people from agencies. A lot of agencies who we use, the leaders of those agencies were like, I don't know. We did a little bit of testing, and we were just like, you never know till you really let it rip. And we did. And so we went with that dark mode. We're going to add a little more color to it. We're actually in a really interesting spot right now with the brand because in our marketing, I think people can benefit from what we're going through now. We're very focused on our marketing in delivering the message of the value props of our business. of our product. It's really, really, really important. Like, you need to know the value props cold, and you need to be able to communicate the value props in your paid ads to differentiate yourself. But then you differentiate your business, differentiate your product. But at some point, you have reached that level. I think we finally kind of have, right? Like, we win on the performance of our product, of course, but at the end of the day, like, the next step for us is to win more at the brand level, right? To get people excited about our brand. And so, like, our next round of creative strategy is going to be more lifestyle feel. It's going to be like more inspirational. If you think about, for example, the MasterCard campaign, it's priceless, like things like that. Like, you reach a certain size and scale with your brand, and that's like the next level. So each brand works their way up the ladder, and we're just at a different level. But it is still important to try to remain approachable, like what you talked about. We never wanted to be that, like, really chefy brand. We're not like only for the foodies. We want everyone to think like they can have a better experience in the kitchen if they use our product. So it's kind of like, I've been bugging my team forever, like, to do I'm like, we could do the best social proof ad. Like, what do Michelin star chefs, all the cooking influencers, A-list celebs, and home chefs all have in common? They all love Hexclad, right? They all cook on Hexclad. And that's the way I think about how we want to approach the market, that we're there and open, and everyone could improve their experience in the kitchen with our products.
Yeah, I think one of the fun things about coming to LA is seeing all the movie posters and TV show posters, because in any other city that doesn't exist. And Fox has a big one here on whatever street this is, I forget. Sunset, thank you. And it's always about the cooking show, and you see the Hexclad pans on the billboards. I think Hexclad is the only cookware brand on all Fox property shows. How does that relationship work, and what does that do from a awareness standpoint, or is that a middle of funnel, or like, what is that play there?
So we were very fortunate when we did our transaction with Gordon. Fox owns half of Gordon's production company, Studio Ramsey Global, and like, Fox's TV business is about three things. It's about sports, mainly NFL. It's news, and it's Gordon Ramsay and cooking. Like, he is the flagship of Fox. So, right? Yeah, he's like the flagship of Fox. So he has so much clout at Fox, and he and his business manager were just like so effusive in their praise for the success of our business that they just kept going to the guys at Fox and saying, we need to do more with Hexclad. We need to do more with Hexclad. And so we entered into, very recently, a really, really cool strategic partnership with Fox. But even before then, we were on all of the TV shows starting back a couple years ago, because Gordon was just like, hey, this is the best product. And like, and so I wanted in all the shows. And that was, again, Gordon going above and beyond for Hexclad. So that relationship with Fox was really spearheaded and pushed by Gordon. And then we've subsequently developed like really good rapport with Fox. Fox actually has a project manager, a really senior woman, and her entire job is dedicated to managing the relationship with Hexclad, because they're very big believers in our business and our brand. And once you get somebody like Gordon level involved, what does that do in the other parts of the business? Like, does that give you the ability to go get better payment terms with your suppliers? Does it give you the ability to go fundraise easier? Does it make operations a nightmare? Like, what are some of the things that happen when you get a face like Gordon in? Well, I mean, look, it definitely drove top line sales for sure. We built a lot of our creative around Gordon and a lot of our strategy. But not only that, we definitely do. If we look at our ad library, there's a lot of Gordon ads and there's a lot of non-Gordon ads. So we did want to, maintain the Hexclad identity. Although we did sign a very long-term deal with Gordon, and he's a shareholder, so he's never going to go away. But I think it's it just it changed focus for us. I don't think there were any like major challenges, other than the fact that Gordon's team is very protective of him and his brand. So I remember there were all these scam ads on Meta, like these AI ads coming up, like give me $9. Gordon Ramsay saying, "Oh, for $9.99 you can enter into this and get a free." And like the amount of people that actually gave their credit card and put money in for these scam ads on Meta, it was like mind-boggling how many people did this. And so like Gordon's PR team was all over me, all over us. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like we worked really hard with Meta to get these taken down. But so you have to be really mindful of the fact that these celebs and influencers have a personal brand, and we just said from the beginning we were going to be very dedicated to making sure that we don't do anything to tarnish Gordon's personal brand. And I think there's been we built a lot of credit in the bank with them by doing that.
So Hexclad, I think, sells in Canada, Australia, Japan as well, right? The UK, New Zealand. How big of a deal is international for Hexclad?
It's a huge deal for us now. International, it's still a pretty small part of our business. It's between 10 and 15% this year. But when you reach the size and scale that we're at, you need new places to grow, right? To put up numbers. And our US business is still growing really, really well. But it's nice to have that additional bump coming in from international to really make our, improve our growth numbers. Everyone cooks, so it's a great place. It's interesting though, doing international, it's not easy. We have a pretty good playbook for expanding internationally. If anyone wants any advice, reach out to me. I'm happy to send you a quick email on how we did it. For example, like, how are you going to do your operations internationally? How are you going to fulfill? How are you going to get product there? What do you do in terms of website, agencies? I got a lot of help from a lot of people. Like, for example, I'm in a chat. It's called the Big Dog Chat, and that I got a fellow big dog sitting right there, David Guillaume from Mary Ruth's Organic.
It's so funny. I just texted the chat with a video of you saying, always a great way to start your day, realizing how much more you should be doing. So Jason always makes this.
Dude, come up here. Come sit with us.
Yeah, come.
Come on up. Come on up. Come on up. You guys, no, come on, real quick. So, David, tell us about Mary Ruth's Organics, because it's a much different business than Hexclad, and it's a fucking awesome business.
I feel bad. Isn't your session over? Isn't it over?
No, come. This is our session now.
Well, what do you want?
Just give us this 60 seconds. Tell us about Mary Ruth's Organics. Come on.
I walked in late. Did you share numbers and all that good stuff with the crowd?
I just said that we're triangulating towards top line of 500 this year at Hexclad.
Okay. So some of you may be familiar with the brand. It's a vitamin brand. We specialize in liquids. We have 220 products. We have about 200 employees. We're approaching about 350 million this year. We are Amazon's largest vitamin company, which a lot of people don't know that. We've tried to stay under the radar for a long time. We are 65% Amazon. We are 20% DTC, and the rest is retail. And now actually TikTok Shops is a whole new segment that we're kind of pulling out of the P&L. So the P&L now has Shopify, Amazon, and TikTok, because that's been one of our fastest growing segments. We're doing close to 1 to 2 million a month on TikTok. And we just started that a couple months ago, so I think that's really exciting. I think I'll just share one thing, the most exciting thing that we've done, which is I've taken a page out of our chat. This chat is so inspiring because just every day it just gets you fired up. You need to be in a chat with people who are just better than you. And people send screenshots of their P&L every month. I know his balance sheet. I know how much cash he has. I know the mistakes he's making. I know the wins he's having. And that is to the chagrin of my team, because then I go and pound my team, and they're like, oh, David's listening to the big dogs again. That's why we're putting pressure on us. But it inspires us. I'd say probably one of the biggest things I got was someone in our group, really invested in technology long term. Company's called Lomi. I'm an investor in it. And he spent like 3-4 years coming out with technology and patents. And you did the same thing. And I realized in the vitamin space, everyone's just kind of throwing a vitamin out there. So we decided to be unique, and we spent like millions of dollars on clinical trials. We have like 20 clinicals going on right now. The FTC really cracks down on like abusive claims. So if you have a double-blind placebo clinical, you can make a great claim. And the first one that we came out with was about 5 months ago. It's like hair growth product to compete with Nutrafol. And we're one of 3 brands that can make that claim now. And our clinicals came out better than Nutrafol. So like the product is already like $100 million product like within the first 5 months. So we took a lot of time, a lot of years to invest in it. But I would say that has been like a real important thing for brand building.
So the Big Dog Chat was
such a horrible name. If this chat ever got out.
Yeah. So this was the inspiration for the podcast, The Operators. Does anyone know the podcast that I'm on, The Operators? So it's Sean Frank from Ridge, Mike Beckham from Simple Modern, Matt from Lomi, Pila, and me. And there were so many great people in the Big Dog Chat. Like it really should have been everyone, but we had to like stop somewhere and have just pick 4. But like what David said, being in these group chats with the right people who are willing to share in their wins and losses has been incredibly valuable for me. Sean Frank actually is like the leader of a few of these chats, and
he's the youngest one in the chat, I think.
He's the youngest guy in the chat. He's a fucking maniac, smart as a whip, obsessed, and that's the other thing. So on the pod, I had to do these things called the Panzerisms because I'm like the old man. I call myself the e-com grandpa. I'm gonna be 53 this next month, and so we're so incredibly giving, and that's just so important. Like coming here today, I had a trek across town. I'm like in downtown LA. I've got a million things going on. I'm actually missing the Operators podcast. Got a million meetings. But Nick was going to be here. I met Abby through Nick, and I'm like, I'm just going to come. I'm not getting paid, any of that. I'm just going to come hang out. And that's this Panzerism that I have is build a bank of favors. Like do 10 favors before you ask anyone for a favor, and maybe you won't even have to ask for the favors. But I've got enough credit in the favor bank throughout the industry. Like we had I don't know if anyone listened to this story in the pod, but we had an agency that we've been working with for a really long time, not Sharma Brands. And like they did some really crazy shit. I'm just gonna leave it at that. And I actually had to get an email Harley, the president of Shopify, to help fix something. And like I got a response like that. And Sean got involved. Everyone got involved. The next thing you know, like what was a really kind of tricky situation for us, sorted itself out like way faster than I thought because of this bank of favors that have been built. But for all you young brands out there, make sure you don't have an agency set up your ad account in their BM. Make sure you set it up separately. And because once it's in there, you can't fucking get it out. So
Pixel too.
You need to own everything. And if it's not owned, just go spin up a new one right now because you're never going to be able to get it out of there. So we had to start a new ad account, new Pixel, all this stuff. And luckily we've got so much spend, we're able to blow through it all, and it was fine. But like building that bank of favors and being giving to other people, like that's why I'm here today. And I'm super busy. I don't have a lot of time, but I definitely try to respond to people and be helpful. And because I don't know, maybe one of your brands will be really big, and I'll sell Hexclad, and you'll hire me.
Jason, just the same way you dropped that nugget, do you have like a couple more nuggets like that? Like don't have an ad agency set up your ad account like that. What it just, because I saw people start writing stuff down, and they're listening, but a nugget that they can write down. What are 2 or 3 more that will be inspiring?
Okay. Well, there's like a few of the list of the Panzerisms that I love. Like one is the harder you work, the luckier you get. And the reason why I believe in that so strongly is because I worked really hard my entire life. I graduated law school in 1997. I was an M&A lawyer at Skadden Arps in New York, which is, if you don't know law firms, they're like the Goldman Sachs of law firms. Killed myself for 4 years. Decided to go get my MBA at Columbia, got my CFA, got a job as a CFO of a tech company. But all those jobs that I got, none of them came from my resume. They all came from like just working really hard, meeting lots of cool people, getting to know people, being authentic, and then something will drop in your lap. Like me coming to work at Hexclad is because one of the co-founders of Hexclad, Cole McRae, who's like my best friend, I was a key advisor to him. And when the business really started to scale and they realized like they needed someone who could really help them scale the business, they asked me to join. I probably asked them to join actually, and they're like, yes, please come, right? That's the way it worked out. But if I hadn't put in all that work all those years, it would have never happened. So I think people tend to be really impatient these days, asking about when am I going to get a new title and when am I going to get a pay raise and all that. I'm like, if you're 30 years old or younger, like you should only be thinking about gaining skills and meeting people. Don't even care how much money you're going to make. Of course, you got to be able to pay your bills, right? But like, I'm 53 and I had a really good career. I made good money, but I never made 7 figures in a year until I was 51. And I had a JD, Ivy League MBA, killed myself. I got close a couple years, but I never made 7 figures until I was 51. And I don't ever plan on making less than 7 figures again. But
David, do you have any Panzerisms?
I would say whenever I want to solve a problem, first I will say, I met a lot of people in this room. If you're like a CFO or if you're a head of performance marketing, whatever, I'm forcing everyone on my team to create a big dogs group of their title with complementary brands. And you just got to do that today. Like you got to create a text group of 5 people and not be scared to just share value. Like the more value you add, that's what opens everyone up. Every idea we have, we run through the group. Like I've saved tens of millions of dollars. Sean, I shared something with Sean, and he got on a Zoom for 30 minutes, and he gave me an idea that literally was increased revenue by $80 million. A 20-minute idea. Like I'm just realized how valuable it is to have these people, and you go all in on them, and you should like do that in the next 24 hours.
Hexclad would be half the size of what it is right now had I not joined the Big Dog Chat. You need to cap it at like 12 people.
Yeah. Oh man, we have like 10. We have like,
yeah, it's like 10 to 12. I think we have a cap at 12.
And we have 2 groups. You're in the other group too?
Yeah, but I can't keep up.
Yeah.
It's cutting into my tea times. I gotta play golf. Yeah, David, by the way, is like super inspiring leader. There's a bunch of really inspiring people in the chat. You got to surround yourself by those people. And the last thing I want to say is, again, as like put in my old man hat. I mean, I have a 22-year-old son who's a digital marketer now. So like, I think one thing to live by in this like really polarizing world that we're in today, where everyone has an opinion and everyone wants to like bring their like political or social opinion to work, is number one, have your opinions. And by the way, you should be able to. You and I could totally disagree on political things, social issues, whatever, and we can still be friends. And I think that's really important. Like, not that doesn't define the person, but really take that to the next level. I always say there's my story, there's your story, and then there's the truth. Because like what you say to me and I say to you, like you might have intended something, but like I perceive it in a totally different way. And you can use that in everything you do in work and in life, and will make you better, will make you more successful. You'll make more money. You'll make more friends. Just always remember, like, my story, your story, and the truth. Like, no one is ever right. There's like degrees of wrong. And just knowing, I got this from law school. When you go to law school, every exam you take, you have to argue both sides of every issue and then come to a conclusion. So learn to argue both sides of every issue, and know that you may not be perceiving like the point that they're making. And so, like, don't assume good intentions in these conversations. And I think you'll build lasting relationships, which will ultimately put you in the position that I am in, which is the right people want you to come work with them to help build something that's, like Hexclad's a unicorn, right? Like, and we were 30 million when I joined. It's pretty crazy. And I wouldn't have had this opportunity if it wasn't for like all the way I acted in my 27-year career as a professional. So hopefully those are some takeaways that people can use. And I hope everyone builds a unicorn.
Okay, while we have these guys up here, let's do 3 questions. I see one right there.
I have a question. Sorry to take it to knockoffs, since I know it's a source of it. Because we're dealing with the same thing, do you have brand
Also, what's your product?
Mrs. Kisses, the first frontless bedless strapless bra. We're patented US, EU, and Brazil.
It looks awesome, by the way. I'm literally going to go buy that for my wife because she's always wearing backless tops. So you got a customer.
The bra looks awesome. That's what he said. The bra looks awesome.
So, I mean, we have over 250,000 takedowns just in the last year and a half, and we're a team of 11. So
Yeah.
it's been so detrimental. It's a very small brand, but I'm wondering, for Hexclad, do you have, because it's patented,
Yeah.
do you have custom border protection set up? Like, even the e-commerce, or not the brand protection company that, what was it called? We did blood print, but we did core search.
Yeah.
Even that was a scam.
Yeah.
They wouldn't take them down properly.
Yeah.
So they kept coming up. So what do you have?
We've had a lot of these like brand protection businesses approach. Well, I don't know a lot, but a couple at least like approach us recently, and we haven't worked with them. If something sounds too good to be true, it normally is, right? So like people will. I remember some guys came to me like to save us money on shipping, and like, oh, we're gonna help you, and we're gonna audit your UPS account, and we're gonna keep like 40% of the savings, and you keep 60%. Run away. But in your case, we have legal counsel on retainer. I think we pay like $15K a month.
Nothing at the border set up for brand.
So we don't, although there is one knockoff that we're actually challenging in China right now. But we're doing it directly through our lawyers. Yeah, and it's costly and it's expensive. Like Sean talks about this all the time because he did this cool international thing. We should get a write-up of what Sean did. But it's something like that. I'm not really an expert in it, but we send out tons of cease and desist letters, and we protect our IP.
You should talk about it on your next podcast, because half the people in the group are talking about
All right,
millions of dollars they're spending and all the legal ways they found to take.
All
them
right,
down.
we'll do a deep dive on like IP protection. We're gonna record our next pod on Monday morning, and we'll do it. So you gotta go. Thank you. You gotta go listen to the pod.
All right, next question. Caleb?
Caleb, Haven Athletic, organized gym bags also have a high price point and initially not a lot of repurchase rate. So I'm wondering, like, at what size of the company or at what point was it like, let's start adding on more products to look at increasing lifetime value? Because they buy one pan, now they're not coming back. When did you start thinking, like, let's add more products?
For a while, the company only sold a pan set. And then the next logical step was pots. It's actually really hard to make high-sided cookware pieces with the Hexclad pattern, so that was one of the reasons why it took a while. So we have like a long product testing or product development cycle. Even if we have a roadmap of all the, look, it's easier for us in the kitchen, right? We know like there's a lot of different pieces that people use in the kitchen. The biggest extension that we did in early 2022 is to do knives. So, and we've had like a roadmap for cookware pieces. We still haven't hit them all. Like we're going to do bakeware soon. It's been very, very hard to make. But for some businesses, it's really hard to figure out like what the next product is going to be. It's actually easier for us. People think that like we're really smart at Hexclad. I just think it's easy. We're very lucky. Like Ridge, for example, they had the wallet, very similar, right? What else? And they did watches. I think they did okay. And then they did backpacks and stuff. And then they did rings. And their rings kicked ass. And they because they kind of knew like, okay, here's our customer. Look at who your customer is, and what else can we sell to that customer? And rings has been the most successful. I think the others have been mildly successful, but rings is like the big hit. So I think you've got to you have to be able to invest in the new product. You've got to have the money to do it. And there's like a sweet spot where your business is generating enough margin that you can actually go and invest in those places. So a lot of things have to align financially, understanding what the right product is. But I think that's something that you think about right away. But I get it. It's hard. You get one Haven backpack and it's awesome. I don't need 5 of those things. Maybe if I own multiple houses.
There's 2 things that I know we did, because innovation is the only way we grow. Like it's the major way we grow. Number 1 is we sent an email out to customers. We said we'll give you a $100 gift card to come on a Zoom. So we got 100 people on a Zoom, and we asked them what else. We asked them to open up their cabinet of vitamins, and we looked inside. We did like focus groups of 10 actually. It wasn't all one. And we said, show us what's going on inside. What's your budget? So the budget, let's say, is $200 a month. Why are you only spending $80 with us? What are all these other products? And everywhere I go, from on the plane, everywhere I go, what vitamin brand do you use and why? And I can't tell you, like 30-40% of our innovation comes from just me randomly asking people on the street what they're doing or what they're giving their kids. Like you just have to overwhelm the system and just ask, and then the data just comes flying into your face.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, listening to your customer about almost anything is going to solve.
Correct.
Like even
or the top influencer. Every time I go to, I'm like, what are people? She's like, I'm getting requests endlessly for this as I'm promoting your product. Always a great way to innovate. The influencers know what's going on.
Yeah, and read your reviews. Your reviews give you great. Reading your reviews helps with new product development, and it helps even more with how to improve your paid ads. Really look at what people are saying about your products. They will tell you what sold them, right?
Did you know that every influencer that works with Sephora, in their contract, they have a quarterly review where they basically go over that, like what is in your DMs that people want, so that they can figure out what comes into the store.
Wow.
All right, last question back there.
We've made so many mistakes. One mistake was in hiring, not being diligent enough in hiring for a key position, which this person talked a really good game, and we were a little naive, and it was a bad hire that actually really hurt the company and set back the company for like a good 10 months. In marketing. So I hate doing it. It's like annoying, but do the reference checks, like talk to everyone about someone. And even if you don't want to do it, hire someone to do it, but do it. I'm terrible at that because I just like believe I'm making good decisions, and often I am making good decisions, but that was a bad one. Another one was, I almost bankrupted the company. Because I was hired as a CFO. I was the CFO of tech companies, and I was an investment banker for 12 years, selling fintech and marketing tech companies. So I did understand marketing and marketing tech pretty well. But
Our first CFO we hired from the tech side, we quickly realized you don't hire a tech CFO
yeah,
for a CPG company.
Exactly.
He was fired within 3
there's
months.
this thing. It's called inventory. Yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, totally. I mean, luckily we were pretty profitable, and I was like, hey, we got to put some money back in for a few months, guys. Trust me, I learned my lesson. But I'll give you Hexclad as an example. If you're growing 100% and you have 25% COGS, and let's just say you have 25% EBITDA margins, you have great EBITDA margins, and you know how much cash you have? Negative. Because you have to invest in next year's inventory, right? And you had to pay taxes on the profit for this year. So you're not even break even, 25% and 25%. You're actually negative. So you really got to be focused on the numbers. Know your numbers. Know your fucking numbers, is a big one. So it's a lot of people who are not financially literate in this industry, and it's really not that hard. It's like there are a lot of people who in marketing who hate math. I was a lawyer. I was not a good math guy. I went to business school and I was forced to do it. I got 99th percentile on the verbal and on the GMAT, and I got 50 on the math. When I left being a lawyer, I never used Excel. And I had to buy this big fat Excel book and sit in my den and work my way through the book. And then I went to business school because I was I really need to learn this shit. But it's really not that hard. No basic accounting. It's not that hard. Yeah, not knowing your numbers is a really good way to sink your business really fast. It's an easy thing that you can do properly from the get-go.
2 hacks I'll share. We wanted to make sure we didn't raise money ever. We didn't have to raise money. So I don't know if this is still true today, but being on a cash basis accounting, we got to write off our inventory, I think until we hit 50 million of revenue or something. So that's a massive hack. We didn't pay taxes for the first 5 years because on December I would just buy tons of inventory and wrote it off as an expense. That was one. And then we had to change to accrual, which then you can't do that anymore, which most companies. But if you're starting off, take advantage of that. The second thing I think was big, and I think you guys did this too, we got credit cards that were 60 or 90-day float. And then we forced all our vendors to take the credit card also and split the bill. So you have terms with your vendors, and then you put everything on the credit card. So 90% of all our expenses go on credit cards. And that got us another average of 75 days. So cash conversion cycle was massive, massively important.
It is, but be careful not to over leverage yourself too at the same time.
Make sure you sell the product.
Yeah, you got to have this.
You got to sell the product to pay off the credit card.
Have the sales to back it up.
Amazing. All right, that's all the time we've got. Thank you for listening.
Thanks.
Thank you.